Hey, hi everyone. This is Sai from LetsUpgrade. So let's talk about how to get your certificate. It's very simple. You will see two links in the description. Number one is the place where you have to go and mark your attendance. Marking your attendance tells us like, okay, you are a legit student who have attended this particular session. Link number two is your assignment. This is where your 90% of the priority is. You have to go and submit the assignment that is given to you in this particular session. Once you're done submitting that assignment, we will be evaluating that. We will send you an email. If you get the passing criteria, then only we will give you the certificate on a particular date that is mentioned again in the description. Please check these three things, and this is the way how you will get a certificate from Let's Upgrade. Number one, mark your attendance. Number two, just go ahead and upload your assignment. Check for the email that you have received it, yes or no. What is the feedback that you have received from your trainer? Number three, check on which date the certificates will be released. Thank you. Bye. All the best. Happy learning.
Hi everyone, welcome to our Figma Bootcamp. I'm very excited to share all the information we can fit in the 4 hour session with you all. So let's get started. So basically, what is Figma? What is the software about, and how did it come into existence? Who can use it? So, to understand all of this, we need to take a step back and understand, the tools that came before Figma. That played a very major role in the evolution of the product Figma. So I think back when I started designing, which was almost 10 years ago, we were using tools like Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and Sketch. Now, most of these tools are still in existence, but their roles have shifted. So, for example, Figma, I think, is sorry, not Figma, Photoshop is strictly for graphics designing, whereas Illustrator is more for vector designing, and of course Sketch is still a player that is not quite dominating the interface designing area, but it used to be before Figma came into existence. And of course, I think it launched Figma, the product itself launched in 2016, and since then they have kept on improving on it. And as we can see that I think in 2025 they introduced a Figma make feature as well, which is basically your prompt based engineering model, in which it works like any other AI website builder or application builder, which has really given Figma a very lucrative edge in the market. So these were the competitors or the tools that came before Figma. Now, what is Figma? Figma is basically a collaboration tool in which multiple people, what I mean by collaboration tool is that multiple users can work on the same product, same project, same file at the same time. And it is web based. You can open it in your browser, figma.com, log in and access your files. You can download the Figma software and work on it. All the files are auto saved. Everything is synced to the cloud, so you don't really need to worry about control s like I used to back when I started. Now, another powerful thing that Figma has is that it has version control. What does that mean? So, for example, I am working with a difficult client, and the client has asked me to change the design a bunch of times, let's say 20 times. Now, it is very difficult for me to create a copy, a set of design for version 2 till version 20. If the client is expecting 20 changes, even that is okay. But if the client keeps on tweaking the design a little bit every time, it is difficult for me to kind of keep a track. The file is going to get heavy. I will have to save every small change that I'm making. It is just a very cumbersome process. So instead of doing that, what Figma does is that it auto saves any major change that you make in the file. And of course, you can name those versions as well. You can save a particular version as well that you think is a highlight or a milestone in your design process. So now, apart from this, Figma also offers prototyping, which again gives it a competitive edge. So, for example, if I am making an application design and I need to show the stakeholders, whoever I'm designing for, be it my development team, be it my manager, or be it anybody, any potential client, and I need to help them visualize that this is how the user will move from point A and reach point C. So, for example, they click on a button on page 1, they are taken to page 2, they scroll down, then they see a button at the bottom, they click there, and then they reach their desired location. Now, Figma lets you connect these screens in an interactive manner. So, for example, I think actually, rather than explaining right now what Figma prototype is, it will be better if we cover it later in the session while I'm actually taking you through the entire process. Apart from this, Figma, like many other software designing tools, they let you use plugins. Now, plugins are add on softwares, external softwares that you can kind of add in Figma, and they are designed in such a way that it's a plug and play system. For example, if I need to, so one of the tools that I frequently use is adding a noise texture to your graphics. Me personally, I prefer my designs like that. So instead of going on Google and searching for the right type of image, checking if there is a watermark or not, what I do is I use one of the plugins. I think it's called noise generator or something like that. We'll just take a look when we're actually working on the file. And so I can define the grains in the noise, I can define the blackness, I can define how what the translucency of the design is going to be like. So basically it's like an add-on tool which I can kind of use to modify my design in any particular way. So yeah, this is all what Figma has to offer. Now, let's go to the Figma site, and I'm just gonna quickly check if my screen has been visible so far. All right, so yeah, my screen was visible. I'm just gonna go back to the Figma site. So as you can see that this is the site, and so I have an option to log in, and for enterprises, they can contact sales. This is not relevant to us. I can see all these great companies are using Figma because, of course, this is the best the market has to offer. And so whatever you can kind of see over here, I mean, these are all the features Figma has. So design is primarily what we will be covering today. This is your design interface. This is the navigations or the assets that you can kind of manage. And then we have the draw feature, we have a build feature which is mainly for development. You can publish your design, share it in the community. Of course, the promote part is for social media. FigJam is just a free mood boarding or a presentation tool, which I think primarily use for mood boarding and just to kind of jot down some ideas. Present is a kind of a competitor for Google Slides, I want to say, but not really. I mean, it has a lot more to offer. And of course, prompt is Figma. Make, I think they started with Make. And yeah, so these are all the tools that Figma has evolved with over the years. And all right, so now we can log in directly from here, or we can download the software and then kind of log into it. So I've already logged in into my Figma, so I'm just gonna take you guys there directly. Now let's understand what Figma's core functionality is. I mean, it is, of course, creating. Just a second. How do I minimize this? All right, yeah. So, for example, if we are working on a website or an application or anything that requires, involvement of a technical person to make it live, for example, uh, so because I've already used up all of my, I think, free projects, it is asking me to create something in drafts. So Figma has some limited space. I mean, in a free account, I mean, of course, Figma is free to use, but they also have some restrictions. For example, you can create up to three projects, and three projects can have, I think, three files in them each. And those three files can have 3 pages in them. So I have created three projects. I have three files and with 3 pages in them. So I can only work on the draft part, which kind of works for me. I mean, if you want to add more features, so for example, if you want to add more pages to your file, sometimes files do get bulky. And if you want to upload videos are not allowed to be uploaded in a free plan. So there are some restrictions in the free plan, but I mean, I personally have been able to work without those features at a personal level. For example, if I'm working for a company and the company requires me to do XYZ work, and and there are only a limited number of features that are available to me, then of course I need to upgrade. It kind of depends on the kind of work that you're doing. For me personally, free works when I'm working on some projects that don't require that much of a feature stack. But anyways, this is your workspace. This is your design arena. This is where all of your work will come alive. So as you can see, I have my home, and clicking on this will take me back to the list of projects that I have so far. I can navigate through these, and apart from this, I have the tabs open in which so I can kind of switch between. I have my notifications. These are the shortcuts. Whether you want to create a Figma design file, which is what we are going to be working on right now. Again, FigJam, your mood boarding, your note taking, kind of like a product. Slides, Buzz is an alternate name for I think social, was it? They keep changing the names. I think they're trying to. I think it's promote. They're trying a bunch of stuff. Then you have Cite and Make. Make is the AI tool. On the left, you can see all the drafts that you've created so far, all the projects that you have, trash, and any particular start files that you want to put over here. And you can filter through these files and everything. So let's go to the untitled file that I just created. I'm just gonna call it Let's Upgrade December 2025. Now, because this is in drafts, I can see its version history. I can export the file. I can add it to my sidebar. I can file the color profile. I haven't really created anything as of now. It's not gonna show me much. Duplicate the file, rename, or move the file and move it to trash. Of course, your basic functionalities. If I had a bunch of stuff in my file, I could search for something. I could create a new page. So I think, okay, because this is a drafts file, I can create as many pages as I can unless I move it to a project. In that case, I will have to, kind of remove a couple of pages in that case. So all of my layers that I will be working with will show up here. So for example, right now I'm in Let's Upgrade December 2025 file, and I'm on page 1. Currently I have no layers showing up here. So as soon as I start creating something, for example, I have selected R is the shortcut for rectangle. I create a rectangle over here, and you can see that in my layers there is rectangle 1, and on the right side I have its properties. I can change its design from over here. uh, all right, so now that we understand the left panel, let's move on to the bottom panel. Now, for some people, depending on the version of Figma that you have, some of you might be seeing this sort of, a floater bar, and others might be seeing it on the top. That is completely okay. I think you're just so this is the most recent update that Figma has sent out, and it might not be supported for some device types, so that's okay. The overall functionalities are the same, the features are the same, so nothing to worry about there. All right, I'm just gonna reduce the brightness now that the background is lighter. All right, so now that you know what the left panel does, we will kind of understand the bottom panel. So you have three options. You have the hand tool, you have your standard move tool, and the scale tool. Now we'll get to the usage of all of these. Then you have frames, you have sections, you have slices. So for example, if I'm working on an application design, so I click on F, or I go and select frames from here, you will see a bunch of options that you can kind of choose from. These options will kind of think of them as guides, so that you don't really have to memorize the screen sizes for whatever you're creating, be it a phone design. For example, for Android there are a bunch of sizes, for iPhone of course there's a bunch of sizes, tablets, desktop, presentation, even watches. Yes, whatever application design that you're making, or any sort of design that you're making, it is a possibility that there will, because everything is accessible everywhere. I mean, like, from smartwatches to any sort of widgets, for any sort of tablets. So your design has to be able to adapt to different screen sizes. So again, like, I never really remembered the sizes for any smartwatches. So of course Figma kind of creates a preset. So I just need to select that particular size, and it will appear in my workspace. If you want to create something for paper, social media, or something for Figma community, for example, a plugin icon, so all of that can be accessible. You don't really need to memorize the screen sizes for all of them. Let's start with the iPhone 13 mini. So as I'm creating these assets, you can see that in the layers panel on the left, all of these assets are being listed down in the order that I created them. Now from this section, I can kind of choose the type of shapes that I want. So it is always great, and saves you a lot of time if you remember shortcuts for all these things. So that always comes in handy. This is pen tool and pencil tool, text, comment, and some quick actions that you want to kind of uh, work with. So Figma has also added the shortcuts in itself. I think in previous sessions, there was a list of Figma shortcuts that I used to share separately with you all. But right now, Figma has kind of integrated the. All right. So now that we understand the bottom toolbar and the left panel. Let's understand the right section that we have over here. So this is basically your properties panel, and we can switch between the design mode and the prototype mode. So for example, if I click on this red rectangle over here, you can see that there is like all these properties listed over here. It's a rectangle. I can create components. What components are, we will get to it a little later. I can add a mask. If there are multiple layers, I can add, subtract spaces between them. These are basically your Boolean operations. You can edit the object if I select more than one layer. So, for example, by holding down Shift and Option for Mac, Shift and Alt for, I'm hoping, yeah, it's Alt for Windows. I created a copy. Basically, just drag and drop it, and holding down Shift, selecting both of the layers, I can change the positions. For example, let me just reduce the size so that there is a clear differentiation between these two. I can position them on the left and on the top. So basically, this is your simple positioning, repositioning feature over here. And then I can see that on the workspace, these are the coordinates of my file. And this is the width, this is the height. The angle, if I want to flip it vertically, horizontally, we won't really know the difference right now because it's a rectangle. And we can change we can basically lock in the aspect ratio, so that if I resize it, it will resize in this particular ratio is only. If I unselect it, I can resize it however I want it to be. Now, with regards to appearance, I can reduce the opacity, or I can increase it. I can add corner radius to it, depending on what I want it to be like. I can change the appearance. So, for example, you can see now this kind of mainly works on images, or if you want to add some sort of, an edge to your design. So, for example, uh, let's go to the site that I go to for free pictures. It's called Pixels. So, what I'm going to do, going to copy image, place it here. Okay, this is, I think it did not get copied. I'm just gonna download this. So usually what happens, I think this particular site is restricting a direct copy. Otherwise, I could have copied the image from here and control paste in my frame, and it would have, been added here. But otherwise, I can select image slash video from here, or I can control shift K or command shift K and select my file. Okay, now I'm just gonna position it in my artboard. The aspect ratio is locked. I just need to bring this image here. Now this is the rectangle that we wanted to kind of add the appearance uh, behavior. So right now it is normal. You can see, if as I'm selecting different type of options, uh, the design is also changing a little bit. So for example, if I select this, change the corner radius to 0, now this is kind of giving it a little retro look. I'm not really sure how well it is looking in our design, but that's not really the point here. I think the point is just to understand how the tool works. Okay, I don't really think it is anything. It does not really look good at all. But oh well, now we know what this appearance tool does. Anyways, going back to our original rectangle. Apart from this, I have your standard fill a layer over here where I can change the colors. I can usually in digital we use hex codes. RGB is something that is mainly used for print media, and you can change your colors from here. You can change the opacity of your color from here. You can change it from here as well if you want to hide a particular color but not hide the layer. You can just change the color or hide the color from here. If you want to remove it, you can remove it from here. If you want to add something, just click here. If you want to get something from the library, now you can of course do it from here. So you have a certain number of libraries added to your file by default, which are provided by Figma. But beyond that, if you're working on a particular project and which has more than a couple of screens, and you have every design has their primary, secondary, tertiary set of colors. You have your blacks, you have your whites, and your text colors, all that jazz. So instead of remembering the hex code, or instead of so for example, if I had to recreate this image or turn this into an application design, I think the primary colors would be something like this will be the color palette for that particular design if I had to take inspiration from here. So this will be my primary, this will be my secondary, this will be my text color. So just to give you an idea, and maybe further shades of brown. This will be my accent color, and this will be my supporting colors for that, or variations of that. So now when I go on to translating all of this into application designs or any sort of design, I it is impossible for me to remember all the hex codes or all the font sizes that I'm going to use. So what I do instead is I go over here, I create a library which is called background color, create the style. I go over here and accent color. It could be my accent color, it could be my primary color, depending on whatever you prefer. This will be my text color. Now, if you go over here to your main file, deselect everything, you can kind of see that it has created a color library for me. And similarly, you can do that for fonts as well. So, for example, if I type in hello, and over here, the typography properties show up. The pre-default sorry by default predefined font for Figma is enter. That is what is selected over here. I can change it to whatever I prefer, and these are the font weights that are available for any particular font. I'm just gonna stick with the enter, and I can change the font size over here. I can change the line height. So for example, these are the two words, and I'm changing the line height. So that means I'm increasing or decreasing, basically modifying the gap between two or more than one lines. Now, this is where you kind of increase the space between characters. You can centrally left or right align it. This is to kind of create an anchor for your text. So, for example, if so currently I've selected centrally aligned. So what this means is that my center line for this particular font is here, and the text will grow in both directions vertically. So for example, if I change this to auto, so you can see that the line that I had drawn is still the center of both lines. But if I had selected top align, the text, the two lines will grow towards the downside. I hope this clears it up. Now, apart from this, let me just remove that line from back. Now, apart from this, you have certain options like to add any particular color of stroke. For example, I think it's not very clearly visible. Just gonna change this to, yeah. So these are the styles. To add a stroke, I can add it to the center, inside or outside. I can add thickness to it. If And of course, you can kind of also define certain characters to it. For example, you can add a brush tone or squiggles, or even a dashed or a solid line, whatever you prefer. Now, apart from this, another thing that you can do is, if I want to give this, if I want to give this a border, and if it's a vector file, I can also choose to add the stroke only to one side, one or multiple sides. I can go to custom. I can add one stroke over here, and one over here and six over here. This is kind of giving me a retro button look, but this is just to help you understand how strokes work. I can remove all of these altogether, or I can again add it to the library. So whatever works for you. Now moving back to our text. So right now, because I want this to be editable, I've just kept the textual properties, but let me just duplicate it. This is a personal preference that I have, that whenever I am sending a design for printing, there is a chance that the vendor may not have the font that you prefer, and that kind of creates a certain amount of discrepancy, that your font might change, and because your font is changing, the alignment of the entire design might go for a toss. So what I do is I just create my text into a vector. So you select your text file and click Control or Command E, which basically turns the entire your layer, whatever text you had added, into a vector. So you can see it on the left panel right now. T stands for text. But as soon as I turn it into a vector, it has a particular shape, and this element is now a vector. Now adding effects to your file, to the design that you're making. Basically, this is to help us locate it, the drop shadow that I am adding, the x coordinate, x axis, the y axis. So currently, because x and y are both 0, the drop shadow is right under my design. But let's increase the x axis by 6, y by 6 as well. Let's turn the design into white. So it's kind of visible, but not really. So I think we need to move the shadow closer. Yep, I think this is more visible. And we can increase the blur and maybe the color's opacity as well. Now, apart from this, what all can we do with our design? We can add a layer blur. So how will a layer blur work? Let's see. So I want to add a particular design, gradient of sorts, to my file. So I'm gonna select layer blur, and I will shift it to 100. This is basically if I want to merge or add any sort of text over here, but not really take up too much space, or add a very solid block over here. I mean, I think you would agree that this layer blur, which is fading gradually, is better than solid fill over here, which is kind of like ending the image abruptly. So again, every kind of effect has their own use in the design. So for example, if I reduce the opacity of this box, say by 50%, changing the color to something dark, and background blur could be 20%. So as you can see that there is a certain amount of background blur that is happening over here. So it depends on the percentage of translucency you have added to the asset. I think this feature or this background blur property is for me personally, it is primarily used when I'm creating a top or a bottom navigation for an application or a website, or maybe for some sort of a graphic that I want to accentuate a particular text, or create an abstract background. So this is where I use these properties. Apart from this, I think there were a couple of other effects which we can kind of use as we go about it. So for example, I think the last one, which is, so we checked drop shadow, let's work with inner shadow. This is nothing but basically the opposite of what we were working with earlier. So I'm just gonna reduce the blur. So because I had this is kind of giving it a very curved look, this entire thing, right? I think something that probably Microsoft Word used to work with earlier. But anyways, million different combinations of all of these shadows, effects all together to create something entirely different. So totally up to you on that. Now let's understand how community works on Figma. So basically, I'm just going to select UI kits over here, and actually I had selected it, and I found Airbnb's UI kit. So let's just go through this once to understand what an extensive library looks like. So for example, they have all these detailed, mapped out typography styles that are being used in their application. So their smallest size is 10, their biggest size that they're using is 22, and all these variations. So, for example, for 12 pixel font, they're using regular semi bold, underlined semi bold. For 14, regular semi bold, and so on. So these are all the variations of text that they have. These are all the colors that they're using. So because red is their primary color, they're not just using red as a standalone. So let's see what the difference is between primary 1 uh, and primary 2. So you can see that there is a very extremely fine difference between the two shades. If I add a white over here instead of this color, I think it will be more visible. So I think you can kind of see that this is, the margin, and even such a small difference is something that they've mapped and added to their library, which is again, I think, pretty impressive, that they're not really taking any chances. These are the effect styles that they had. These are all drop shadows, and they're using a 12 grid system. So basically, a grid system is something that we use to kind of help us create a design that is, like, in place. So for example, I'm just gonna add columns over here. So columns, and I want to give a margin of 18, so that, like, I know this is my empty space. All of my design elements should be between the first and the last columns. And if I'm going to create an icon, it will be easier for me to understand that the icon should always be of 20 pixels and it should fall between these two columns. So these are things, that kind of help us analyze what sort of a design we want to make. So for example, what we've done for columns, we can also do for rows, but I think the count over here is going to be higher. And so I can kind of see that my icon will be over here, and this is the space that I need to keep. Just adjust the font size. Yeah, so if my icon is over here, I need to give at least 10 pixel space to start my text. So that this is a standard practice that I follow in all of my designs. So this is something, layout grid is something that can help you with that. Now, going to through the library for the Airbnb's UI kit. So you can kind of see that they have created a bunch of variations for the buttons. It is a full width button, it's a smaller button, and a couple of variations for showing more terms and conditions. There is a link, what will it look like? If there is an icon in the button, what will it look like? And what will the cards look like? If the owner of the property is a super host, I think Superhost is somebody who has, I think, consistently 4+ rating or something. So that tag will come over here. If you favorite the icon, it comes over here like this. So these are some of the features that are being consistently used throughout their application and the website, and the design looks exactly the same. This card does not change regardless of the size of the device that you're using. It just adjusts according to the space that it is given. I don't think it has auto layout uh, applied to it, but that's okay. Anyways, so yeah, these are basically uh, so libraries are, as the name suggests, a library is a repository. It's a collection of all the information that you need to understand a particular topic. So, for example, in order to understand what Airbnb's application does, we start from the building block. For example, if you learn a language, you start from the alphabets, then you start composing words and sentences and so on. So consider this as the building blocks of your application, your website, dashboard, anything. This is what you start with. You start with a frame, then add text, then add a button to it, and then you recreate it a couple of times, and that is how you are left with a couple of screens of an application or whatever you're making. Similarly, establishing a color palette for the entire file, so that you are in control of what you're making. You're not just randomly using colors. It is always recommended to have a color palette and a typography in place. Now, in addition to that, they have a couple of things. For example, accordions. I'm just gonna hide the grid for now. Accordions is nothing but just this drop down section. uh, this is mainly, I think, used for FAQs. You have your buttons, you have the cards, you have your callouts. For example, anything that needs a certain amount of attention can be labeled as a callout. You have your checkboxes, you have your chips, different variations. If it is on a white background, you probably need this particular color. Okay, I think these are different states over here. So this is selected, this is pressed, this is on hover, and this is the default button. And I think this is for the BNB listing that you have labeled as favorite. Your drop downs look like this. Okay, there's a bunch of things over here. Let's not review all of them. You can, of course, search for this file in the community section, which can be accessed from over here. And so I think this is about it. Uh, I'll also share the working link of the file that we, will be creating our designs on, which will have these two pages, which is basically helping you understand a couple of very basic laws of UX, color psychology, and typography. I'm just gonna clean up this space a little bit. I think, okay, all done. Different type of typographies, color psychology. Each color is associated with an emotion. For example, purple with comfort, pink vibrant, orange is enthusiasm, green is growth. So you can kind of decide what color resonates with your brand the most by also looking at the examples. So for example, Cosmopolitan is a magazine not exclusively but primarily for women, hence the color pink. Now blue is some a color that kind of denotes technology, so Intel. Now green is for growth, so Standard Chartered, bank, money related, fertility related. Yellow is enthusiasm, freshness, Fanta. You can also go through these particular laws, which will, I mean, it's good to have this type of knowledge, so that not all of your designing is assumption based. So let me just give you a tiny example. Hicks law. The time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices. So, even though the current user that we have today is educated, and they are capable of making choices, it is our responsibility as designers to not overwhelm them or not make them feel like not make them feel stupid, basically. So if you can kind of see in this, music and songs is basically the same thing. So why do I want to give the user more options to choose from when I can simplify it and just label it all as music and give him less options to choose from? Similarly, I've added so many colors for no reason, which is kind of making it seem that these three elements are grouped together when they're really not. Songs and creative writings, these two elements don't belong to the same group. So rather than that, it will be ideal if I have the same color for all the tags, so that the user can kind of just focus on the text, and whenever the user selects anything, that element can change the color. Okay, so make it easier, faster for the user to process the information that is in front of you. uh all right, now I think we can start by creating a login screen for an application. All right, so we will be creating a login page for an e-commerce website or an application. Sorry. This is the design size that we will be taking. Uh, okay, so for starters, let's search for the right image that can be used as our background. Just bear with me, I think my net is a little slow today. So I think based on the images that we find, we can kind of define the design language that we want to take. But I think most e-commerce sites, what they do is that they try to keep their particular color scheme usage to a minimal, so that the design can kind of speak for itself, because the images that are being uploaded, they're of many many different colors. So it is recommended that we go for something a little mellow, and not too upbeat. So for example, let's try to take a shade of purple as our primary. In this case, this will be my primary. I'm just gonna remove the designs styles that I had created. I think text is okay. I'm just gonna change edit style. This is my primary. I'm just gonna change the color to this one. All right, I think the text color could also be a shade of purple to kind of reflect some sort of a resemblance between the two. We'll see if this needs to be changed. We can always do that. So, okay, this particular image has a shade of purple in it. So I'm just gonna see if this is working for us. Just gonna add this image over here. So if you want your design to fit a particular size, that can happen if you have a vector in place for that. So for example, I've created a rectangle of the same size, and I'm just going to add the design and the image directly over here. All right, now I select the image, and on the top you can see that once I have selected the image, I see an option to crop. I'm just going to increase the size a bit from here, and I think I can keep, not keep the shoes. Remove the top part as well. I think the width from here is a little longer, so I might want to rotate my image just a little bit to make it kind of seem even. Okay, so this is the cover page that I want the user to focus on for now. Uh, we'll just kind of add a couple of layers to it. For example, because this is my primary color and it's not quite matching the background, so what I want to do is I want to go to edit, and I want to see if I can kind of match the color over here. So for example, this is coming close, but it's also kind of making the bottom part of the image a little too vibrant. So what I'm going to do is adjust it a little bit more, see if I can get the results, but also understand that whatever you're changing to the background is also affecting the model in the front. So we may not want to get really carried away with all the changes that we're making. So okay, probably have a brand logo. So brand logo fashion. Now again, this is only for representation purposes, so I'm just gonna take Gucci for now. This is not a PNG. I require a PNG, so I'm just gonna go to tools, select a transparent file. This is probably not okay. This is a PNG. Copy it from here and add it. All right. Uh, Actually, if I'm adding Chanel, I should probably use a better image. But anyways, we are doing this for educational purposes. That's okay. Now I want to kind of get the user's focus on the logo itself, which is not really getting captured right now. So what I'm going to do is add a color to the background, go to my gradient section, and I'm going to reduce the opacity over here, increase the size of the logo, maybe change the logo uh, to white. Let me see. Okay, I think I need to probably do it in a different file, or maybe look for a white logo for Chanel. Okay, and I'm hoping that okay, transparent. Okay, this should work. Yeah. So now I have a white logo, which is kind of what I wanted from the start. Now I want to add some sort of a text uh, over here, but that is probably not going to look too good on a purple background. So what I need to do is I need to add another gradient so that I can add a button over here and a line. Shopping has never felt easier. Probably something a little catchy. Again, not a copywriter, but I think this will do for now. I think the font can be a little sophisticated, a little sleeker. I think, yeah, this works. Now 42 is the height for this. I'm going to go for 220 as my, actually 280 as my primary buttons width. I'm going to give it a corner radius of 0. Let's see if this looks any good. I'm going to add login as the primary action for this, reducing the size to 14 pixel and medium. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these two layers, the text login and the rectangle which is my background, which again should have been white, and white should have been added to the library. So I'm just gonna wait, what did I do? Okay, adding to the library, yes, white. So I'm going to select these two layers, align them, and click on Shift A, which kind of creates this whole thing as one entity which is logged into an auto layout. So what auto layout does is that because I've logged these two assets together, if I reposition anything in one of the uh, you know assets, the other will change. But again, I will have to set certain conditions. So for example, over here you can see that the position of both of these collectively, the alignment is central. So if and the margins from the sides has been given 121. Let me just change this to 20, and I've left aligned it. If I centrally align it, it's going to go back to its original place. If I right align it, it's going to move to the right. And every time I kind of shift the design, it is going to stay on the left, which changes if I move the position from here to there. Now the margin from top and bottom has been given 10. Let me give it to 20, and I'm gonna double click on the side over here, or I can hug content. So if I have selected hug content, I reduce the cap, the padding from top and bottom to 10 again. It's going to fall back into its original size. Now I don't know about you, but this purple is not really going for me. So I'm just gonna look for a better image. It doesn't necessarily need to be a fashion or, but it has to be a little abstract. So I'm just gonna search for model. It's just my net is really testing my patience today. I'm just gonna go with a classic one. And I think our logo search will kind of have been for nothing. Let me see if I can, yep, change this. I think we may have to change our background color as well. So now you can see that this particular image is going with our design style. I'm just gonna adjust it a little bit so that the background looks whiter. Okay, so this has a very high contrast. Okay, this looks good to me. Just gonna reduce the size of the image so that my logo is very clearly visible. Now I want to have a slightly higher focus on the text that is here, so maybe I reposition my logo, put it to the top left, because understand that if the user has put in the effort of downloading your application after seeing an ad here and there or hearing about the application from somebody, they're familiar with the name so far. So we don't necessarily need to kind of remind the user of the name again. It's not as important. What is important, because the hook has been created, the user is here on this page, they've already downloaded the application. So now we need to make sure that the user stays on your platform, and this can be done with the help of probably uh, a very strong messaging or impactful deals or lucrative deals for the user to kind of look into. So for example, I have the logo on the top and 45. I'm just gonna change the color of the text. 40% off on first purchase. Okay, this seems like a good offer for the user. So I'm just going to put it over here so that the user is motivated more than ever to kind of uh, make a purchase, get into the application and make a purchase. So I'm just going to change the typography a little bit to really highlight the 40% off, so that not only I'm communicating to the user that this is our brand identity, but I'm also kind of making sure that the user knows that there is something that they have to look forward to in the application. So okay, all right, I'm just gonna select these two assets, align them, and so now my button ideally should be of my primary color, but as you can see that this color does look a little off, so I'm just gonna change the color a little bit. And I think this is good, but the text has to be uh, white then. So I'm just gonna select the color, make it white. Now this line, shopping has never felt easier, is kind of uh, it's hung in the middle. It's not really standing out. and it's not really uh, it doesn't really have a feel of its own, but it's not really blending into whatever I'm trying to create for the user. So maybe what we can do is, in one screen I can just have this as let me just see that 24 is the next coordinate for this. Okay, left align this, increase the text size, maybe add a bold layer to this, to this as well, one more exclamation probably, and to give an illusion of my brand identity, I'm just gonna underline it with a hand drawn line. Okay, this is not straight, this is okay, this is a little difficult. Okay, got it. I'm just gonna, although still flip it, it does not seem very accurately drawn, changing it to my primary color, flipping it horizontally so that it looks like these are two separate lines. And I think the lines are a little much, so I'm just gonna remove them, centrally aligning it again with the frame. And yeah, now I'm going to reduce the size for this, so that in the next page this will be animated. In the next page, when we get into the animation part, we can see how to create this sort of movement. Now you might want to create a version of yourself that uh, could be better than this. So again, more than welcome to give a try of your own, because as we all know that design is subjective, so what is working for me may not work for you. And to be honest, this particular design has not really been working for me as well. I mean, there is just so much happening. The brand logo doesn't necessarily need to be present over here. If even if it is, we could do away with the name. We can just have the logo mark that they have present on the top somewhere. It doesn't need to be that prominent. Now additionally, uh, this message could be handled in a couple of manners. So for example, I could just have okay, I think I had added an enter. Okay, over here, that's fine. So this could be sort of a, I think I had added a drop shadow. Okay, yeah, so I'm just gonna, okay, I think the 4 was okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a toast message. What is a toast message? So toast messages are those floater messages. They kind of like, pop in from the side of the application, have a close button on top or somewhere. And they are basically the prompts designed to steal your attention for a few seconds. And then you can kind of just like, quickly get back to your own business. So instead of occupying so much space, and because this is not that important, I mean, the user will see it at a glance and it will register in their brains, because of course, who does not prefer 40% off on any purchase? So this can be handled through a toast message as well. So again, this is the structure that we created, and now there are a million ways to deal with it, to kind of make this design look even better. So for example, I could probably use this layout as well, making it all thin. I'm just gonna reduce the character spacing. Let's see what this looks like. Could even get in two lines. That will be okay. So it is very important that you guys kind of understand all the shortcuts there are, uh, to kind of make it easier for you all to design better, faster, just efficient in general. So let me just try to flip the colors once. I think this is okay as well. And maybe I can just add a button over here. The button that I had, yeah, initially created. Maybe give it a full width. And I think this time I might need to give some sort of an arrow, a chevron to my design. I'm just gonna reduce the size. I have pressed K, and this kind of helps me scale my design up or down in a more efficient manner. So I think the design that I was uh, creating a while ago was a little better. I think the one in which the background was white and the button stayed over here. I think I can keep it like this, remove the drop shadow, and decrease the size a little bit. Maybe change the font to enter, move it here. Okay, I think this might be a minimal, a chicer version of what we were trying to create. Now, let's see what can be done with this particular page. If we are, trying to create maybe around this image, so I think this could be something with something to do with the wellness or something like that, probably. So maybe I would want to reduce, unlock the aspect ratio, reduce the size a little bit, maybe. And this time, because I want to keep the background same as my system's theme, as my device's theme. So what I can do is probably merge it with some sort of a gradient in the background. So for example, this could be my background, and merging it with this particular design like this. So this is currently pitch black, and I think the messaging could be something like this, aligned uh, to the left. Left is, the most acknowledged uh, text layout. So I'm just going to select the color that kind of works with my background image. And over here, I could have a couple of fields, which actually I'm just going to use this one, change the look and feel of this. Okay, just gonna use the color dropper, create a lighter, slightly lighter color, and add some sort of a corner radius to this. So now, because this is where my user will input their information, for example, their first name, removing this from here, and their last name. Now, because we had taken Poppins as our font over here, I need to reduce the uh, weight of the font, and I want to get them equal width and centrally align them. So what I've done is I've created an auto layout for both of them. As you can see in my layer, this is frame 1. I'm just gonna label it as 1. 2 is this one. I want to distribute equal width to both of them. So what I'm going to do is, for starters, I'm going to adjust the gap between them, which is auto, so that they are spread out at the edges. Now I'm going to select each one of them and click on fill container. I think I should give them some space in the middle so the user can enter their first name and last name. Now these elements are usually aligned to the left, and because the container gets activated when the user inputs their information, is why uh, the default state should be that the name looks a little faded, the helping text looks a little faded. So all right, uh, what we will do now is we will replicate it so that the user can enter other information as well, for example their email id. So the placeholder text could say something like john at abc or abcompany.com, because the application could require a corporate login or something like that. If you require additional information of the user, be it setting their password or something like that, you can of course add multiple fields that ask the user such questions. And of course then we nudge the user to proceed to or proceed to home. Now, because this was the design style of my previous design set, it had no corner radius, and I forgot what the corner radius for this one was like. So I'm just gonna it was 8. Okay, and the primary color for this is brown. Now, initially when I started, I thought that I would use all the space. I don't really need to. So I'm just going to add these two in an auto layout. The gap between them is 16, which is fine. I think take a break should have a subheading of its own, kind of explaining a bit about the application and reducing the opacity a little bit. Uh, so maybe what this application does is uh, it locks certain applications so that you're not stuck to your phone for x amount of time throughout the day, maybe decrease your screen time or something like that. So I'm just gonna create a dummy placeholder saying something like this: allow xyz app, the name of the app, to lock you out of the selected apps so you can have a moment to yourself. So now my container is kind of like, my text has gone out the frame, and I want to maintain the 326 width throughout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match it, and actually it's 327, and yep, I can, okay, I can either indent it. Yep. All right. So I think this font size is still a little bigger. So what I'm going to do is change it to 11, auto layout both of them, increase the gap between these two, and maybe add this button in the same auto layout. But this time, I will want to centrally align it, bringing all of this down, and the horse as well. Let's see. Okay, I think I need to check the aspect ratio for this one. Maybe add the bring the horse down a little bit. This gap can be increased, and yep. And I think whatever the app logo would be like. So, for example, I think we had this logo over here. It can kind of either come to this side, and maybe we can add a layer blur to kind of emphasize the color difference uh, between the two elements. I think 50 should be okay. Yep. My logo is visible, and so is the horse, basically the background element. So, yeah, this is basically a couple of attempts on creating a login page or a sign up page, whatever you want to call it. We can continue the rest shortly. Hey guys. So I've made a couple of changes in the design that we were working on yesterday, and nothing too major. I think I just kind of created a light theme of the entire layout, and replace the image. And as you can see that just by changing the image and making everything centrally aligned, there is a major impact on the design overall, which it looks more zen, it looks more clean. So maybe I was thinking that for some applications we have the ability to restrict the user, and to only let them use the application in a certain style. So maybe this is one of the applications where we just restrict the user and only let them use the application in light mode. So I think that is a call again a designer can take. Now, moving on to other assets of Figma. So, let's start with creating a frame. Now it can be a desktop frame this time. Let's try MacBook Air. Now let's start with the creating shapes over here. So now that we have created a rectangle and once selected, you can see that there are small circles on the corner, and when hovered upon, we kind of see a help text on the right that says radius 0. These are basically nudges to change your corner radius. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on this, drag it down. Oh, I think I double clicked it. I just need to gently bring it here. So this kind of is again a shortcut of adding corner radius, which can be done from here as well. So you can see the difference between the two 18 and 30 pixels corner radius. Alright, now I'm gonna create a circle over here. I'm gonna try to match the height. As you can see that once I have created a circle, there is a smaller circle in the center. That is when hovered upon, it says arc. Now, what does it mean? So basically, you want to tap on this and extend your circle. So this is basically primarily used for infographics, and apart from this, you can also extend uh, the length of the circle. You can flip it so that it starts from point 0 over here. So these type of designs are primarily used to create infographics, and I mean, if you have seen pie charts or progress circles, this is where this particular design will help you out. So another cool feature that Figma has introduced. Then again, all of these anchor points can be managed from this section. So I've changed the starting point. Let's see if I change it to 50. The overall length of the circle will change, and if I keep it to 20, this is going to change the ratio. So these are a couple of shortcuts for working with an infographic. So as you can see that we have a line tool, arrow tool. So these are basically predefined assets which you can modify later in the properties panel. So for example, this was an arrow tool that I just created, and this is a line tool. So the difference between these two assets is literally of the starting point in one of them, which is an arrowhead, which can be modified by selecting from the more options that are present in the preset properties. Now apart from this, we've covered rectangle, ellipse, polygon. Okay. So again, it has similar properties, and once you've created a polygon, you will see an option which kind of helps you create further edges to this particular design. Similarly, for a star, I'm just gonna create one sample over here. uh, you can see that this one has 5 edges. I can create more, and I can create a wider space in the center, which results in lesser gap, lesser height to each of the extension. Let's try 80. Okay, I think if we go to 96, it's gonna become very similar to this one. Yeah. Alright, and then we had adding an image or a video. So it can be added to any particular shape. It has to be a vector file. We have not covered using pen tool so far, but okay, let me give you an idea what pen tool is about. So for starters, I'm gonna just draw a circle in the center of this particular uh, design, and I'm going to slice it in a couple of pieces. So for example, I've used pen tool, and holding down shift gives me straight lines. So for example, this is me trying to find a ruler, which tells me that yes, my line is straight, but holding down shift kind of does that for you. And if you want to end the pen tool, all you have to do is press escape. Alright, so I'm gonna delete these assets because I think it'll be great if you can practice on your own for all of this. Alright, the next task is to create a social media poster, and once that is done, we can move on to creating an interaction between more than one page. So we can kind of start with that actually. I'm just gonna remove the excessive features that we may have over here. So, for example, I want the user to fill out these informations and then proceed. So, because the user has not filled out any of these information pieces, the button to proceed to home should not be active for now. So I'm just gonna actually for starters remove the icon because the text is so long. The icon kind of is not of use as much. Also, this should be sign up and not proceed to home because the user is yet to validate their IDs. We don't really want the user to just create a random account without verification, because that is how databases get ruined because of bots. So, alright, uh, I want to select a color that shows my disabled state. I think this should work. This looks disabled. Now I'm gonna replicate this design a couple of times. Uh, when the user starts typing over here, the input field will have a particular outline around it to kind of show that this is, you know, the this is the input field that the user is using actively. And as soon as the user types one thing, and if we allow if the system is designed in such a way that we only require at least one of these information, the button can be disabled. But in our case, the user also has to enter their email ID along with their first name, last name. Their first name is Jane now, and now the user is selecting once they have changed. So Okay, so now we have their first name, last name, which is Jane Doe. And now, as soon as they start entering something, the button becomes enabled. And of course, we have to uh, show a complete email address. Otherwise, what we can do is we can also throw an error message which will show up right under here in red color. So, for example, if there wasn't, she hadn't added an at the rate, uh, enter a valid email ID to proceed. And if we really want the user's attention, we can add an alert icon over here as well. We can, of course, add certain level of interaction. If needed, we can also add components to the entire mix. But that is something that we will work on in the next session because that kind of requires a little more hands on experience on the product itself. So, yeah, if there is an error that has been thrown to the user, that will mean that the sign up button will again be disabled unless this error has been resolved.